Black Ship Universe channel. Now playing the Black Ship side story, How Jincho Escaped the Hierarchy. Enjoy!
Time, effort. Time and effort. Those were the two pillars that Jincho hated to waste more than anything else. As he worked on repairing a perceived malfunction on a simple, ugly, but effective patrol fighter, he angrily set his datapad next to him as yet another diagnostic run test returned nominal readings. Feather-brained, useless, incompetent, plucked, shaven idiots, Jincho cursed at the same time he angrily and loudly locked the control panel back in place. Once finished, he crawled out from under the fighter's propulsion engine. Wasteful, so wasteful, he muttered before picking up his datapad and running another test. He'd learned from repeated experiences that he needed to have at least 5 different verified reports on anything he did to be believed. All around him, other technicians performed their duties while officers, soldiers, and other important people further up the social strata silently mocked them, judging them as weak and as little better than the lowliest serf or slave. That he could tolerate. Wasting his time and efforts? Not so much. Jincho! The technician turned an eye in the direction of the voice's origin, only to find Feshik, Ver, and the rest of his comrades, technicians, and nest partners. He stood up, storing his datapad, already knowing what the result would be. Break time already? Why else would we be here and not working? Alchu countered, bobbing his head twice. Besides, someone has to make sure you're eating. I only forget when real work is in front of me. Not much of that here, wasting away. Unrecognized. Shoved to the side. Ignored, Jincho replied, his tone almost apathetic, but there was a palpable sense of ire in his voice. Bibihu stepped closer, wrapping an arm around his friend's shoulder. Yeah. You're a genius. We get it, but that's not enough for the higher-ups now, is it? Jincho glared at his companion. All of my hate. Yours, Egg Scrambler. Come on, let's go eat something, Feshik interjected as her friends chortled. The next military convoy is arriving in 2 hours. They'll want every damn technician checking every corner of their ships once they dock. Too true. Damn hierarchy working us to the bones, Zimu complained. Hey, Feshik, is it true that the guard marshal tried to court you? Tried to, Feshik replied, tilting her head up in good humor. Colorless and without rhythm. While his friends laughed and conversed about mundane things, Jincho felt a wave of eagerness and delight stir up in his chest. He knew something that his friends didn't, and he wasn't about to let his chance for retribution slip past his fingers. When they arrived at their assigned mess hall, they were served with a gray gruel, a bunch of wriggling worms, small dried insects, cut-up fruit, a glass of water, and a small spoon. They ate in silence, taking their time to enjoy their mostly insipid meals, until Feshik broke the silence at Illa and Kotaru's insistent poking. Jincho, Marshal Pear told us what happened, she said, her tone low and tactful. Had inkling, Jincho replied before opening his beak to fling some gruel into it. When he swallowed and went for another spoonful, his friends exchanged worried and confused glances. What? Jer leaned forward slightly. You're not angry? Normally, when your petitions and requests to perform tests on upgrades, well, you explode into a fountain of insults, slurs, curses, and improbable declarations about procreation, along with where they can stick their heads up into, Alchu pointed out before eating a piece of fruit. Bah! That's old Jincho. Old Jincho is dumb. Don't trust old Jincho, Jincho replied in a knowing, teasing tone. New Jincho is smarter. Knows protesting is pointless. Too many scars beneath fur and feathers already. Illa narrowed her eyes. So, you're not angry about your new request to implement your experimental upgrades being rejected again? Not angry. Furious. Livid. But smart. Won't say anything now. No point. No need to waste more time and effort on them, Jincho replied before taking a handful of worms down his gullet. Tired of trying. Tired of helping those who reject me. Tired of the hierarchy. Tired. So tired. Won't try anymore. Not here. Is the hierarchy about to collapse? Has Jincho given up at long last? Asked Bibihu in a joking tone bereft of playfulness. Yes, Jincho replied, freezing his companions where they sat. Drinking his water, he put the glass down gently. I give up on the hierarchy. Now eat. Work will be heavy, I'm sure. Feshik, along with her companions, always thought they would be relieved to see their friend renounce his silly ambitions. The hierarchy offered no chances to people like them and instead pushed them down. Now that they were seeing the ever-cheerful and optimistic Jincho break and give up, it gave them no satisfaction. Jincho didn't expect Feshik's information to be wrong. She was rarely wrong about schedules and workload projections. But the scale was larger than she initially imagined. The moment the convoy docked with Udalon Station, the overseers and guard elements all but shoved every technician available to inspect the new arrivals. That wasn't new. What was new was the heightened security presence, the access restrictions to certain areas of the station, and of course, the shining new Corvette-class ship. No one was even allowed near its docking bay. It was perfect. By human standards, if he remembered correctly, it would be classified as a frigate-class ship in dimensions alone. But hierarchy ships, while keeping an aggressive aesthetic for their exterior hull and design, were far more compact than human ships. Less space for comfort meant more space for weapons, ammunition, and storage space. This also gave the hierarchy the advantage of needing fewer crew members for each ship compared to how the Drazen and humans used theirs. And the Corvette, glorious voice of the ancient striding among lakes and ruins, was one of the new models. Fast, agile, beautiful, secretive, valuable. It was the perfect target he'd been waiting for over a month. 3 months since he learned what the station was guarding deep within its security vaults. 6 months since set the final preparations for his plan. Nearly a year since he came to the final conclusion that there would be no future for him in the hierarchy. His genius would never be recognized, his efforts would be swept aside, and he would never be allowed to do what he knew he was meant to do. Even with all his planning, all the precautions he took, and the thrill of pressing the button that would unleash chaos throughout Udalon Station, the planet Udalon it orbited, and the entirety of the system, success was not guaranteed. One mistake would mean his death, but he didn't fear death. What was death compared to the pain of seeing your dreams, aspirations, and purpose in life being squashed by uncaring fools who wouldn't hear your voice simply because you were inferior to them? But he'd been careful. Oh, so careful. Being pushed aside and stepped on by the stronger had its own benefits. No one really cared if he took a few minutes more to complete a task. He was just a useless technician after all. Who would pay attention to the simple technician crawling through ducts to recover a cleaning drone he purposefully set to malfunction in that precise spot? Why would anyone care about the lowly, useless, inept technician repairing a command console that needed no repair but could use a subtle reconfiguration linked to his command alone? Yes, being unrecognized had its advantages. But now a dilemma presented itself before him. He needed to extract the wonderful treasure first, without any hierarchy official noticing that he'd stolen it. Or he could choose the safer option and use the chaos he was about to unleash to escape, taking the too long-named Corvette in the process. Loose beaks can't sing, he chirped to himself, a tiny laugh that felt so nice against his biomechanical heart. After he finished replacing a capacitor on the service drone, he picked up his datapad and pretended to run a diagnosis on the drone. Doing a final time check, he stood up, ready to risk it all or die trying. Either way, he'd be free. A single command was all that was needed. After a final moment of hesitation, Jincho sent the start command. A moment later, chaos erupted all around him. And not only around him, but across the entire station. Alarms blared loudly as a escape pods began to eject at random. Drones stopped working altogether, with some suddenly powering down, going offline, or repeatedly crashing into a wall. Every Ekhinda froze in terror, not knowing what was happening. Alert! Alert! Intruders detected on deck B9. Intruders detected on hangar bay 7. Intruders detected on the command deck. Protocol... The alarm system warned before being replaced by static, garbled words and the faint echo of laughter. Move! Move! A nearby marshal cried out, ushering guards to respond to the fake intruders. Comms aren't responding. The entire damn network is compromised. Enemies! Boarders! We're under assault! They'll die at my blade! For the hierarchy. Warriors with me! Cries of fear, courage, valor, and chaos echoed throughout the station in a cascading failure that locked entire decks away, disabled security protocols, and baffled every technician and officer aboard the station. So much so that no one noticed when Jincho slipped away amidst the panicking Yikanti. The crazed technician crawled through the service ducts he knew better than the back of his hand, moving quickly and without fear. He didn't know how long it would take the great technicians to solve what he'd done. There would be no denying it. His parting message would be impossible to miss. He put the message front and center with great care and petty intent. Regardless of any personal vendetta, he knew hierarchy protocols well. Their first objective would be to restore security and surveillance systems. If they managed to restore them while he stole that most wonderful treasure trove, then his death would be more than assured. He needed to hurry. And he needed to get everything ready for step 4 of his plan. With a thought, he connected directly with Fashik. "Fashik!" he cried out. "Jincho? What's happening? Where are you? How are you talking to me? The station's network is a mess. No one can connect. Nothing works," Fashik replied, panic evident in her voice. "I know. My doing? List? You what? Jincho, are you insane? Tell me what's going on or I'll rip off your wings and crush your beak myself. Who's attacking the station?" the female Yikanti interjected angrily. "No one!" Jincho replied as he quickly cut through a panel only to drop into a lonely hallway. He broke into a run a second later. "Sensor ghosts! False signal! Pure chaos! More to come. Take the rest and move close to the long-named Corvette. I'll arrive soon. Need to do something first." "Jincho, what are you planning? Have you finally snapped and turned traitor?" Fashik countered, astonished. "Traitor?" Jincho laughed, reaching a sealed door. He connected with it in a split second, granting him access. "I hold no love for the hierarchy. Never swore fealty. Never saw it as my home. Not a traitor. Just tired of it. We'll leave. Want you and the rest to leave with me. Will you come, or will you help those who push us down for who we are and what we do?" "We could die, Jincho," Fashik replied after a moment of silence. "Then stay. Won't force. It's an invitation. If I make it to you and the other in time, then we probably won't die by hierarchy guns. Maybe. Probably. Best chance we have. Will come?" Jincho asked one final time. "I'll tell the others. This better not kill us, Jincho." Fashik laughed. "Do your worst, crazy one." Jincho opened his beak slightly, a proud Yikanti smile before killing the connection. Reaching another security panel, he unlocked it without issue, only to come face to face with a bewildered armor and armed guard. "Halt! I did it!" Jincho reacted instantly, reaching with his left hand to grab the guard's throat. A second later, a potent electrical discharge coursed through the guard's body. A painful scream escaped his throat but was suffocated a second later, replaced by a wheezing noise as he fell to the ground, twitching and unconscious, but alive. The technician broke into a run again, focused on his objective. Thankfully, he didn't come across any other guard or worse, a group of them or a warrior. By the time he reached his desired vault, 10 minutes had passed. He was panting slightly, but he'd done it. Quickly, he approached the sealed cube resting atop a small altar. Every automated security measure was disabled. Hierarchy paranoia and over-reliance on interconnected security measures, along with a dismissal of analogical and practical ones, was, as always, a mistake that the oh-so-great superiors refused to acknowledge. After all, the Yikanti hierarchy never committed mistakes. Standing before the cube, Jincho unleashed a series of small, wriggling cables emerging from his forearms. They latched onto the cube, and his 6 eyes began to twitch uncontrollably as his mind focused on running tens of thousands of de-encryption algorithmic calculations per second, each one straining his brain to its limit. Nearly a minute later, it all came to an end. Jincho dropped to the ground, gasping for air, and his brain throbbed, his mind rattled. But the feeling of success and undeniable victory beat on his chest vigorously. Standing up, he shook his head and made a run for it, stumbling once or twice, but never stopping. The doors to the vault closed behind him. No one would know he was there. No one would know what he'd taken as payment for years of thankless service under the talons of the supreme hierarchs and the hierarchy. "Time for step 3, he said to himself, ready to unleash everything he had. Udalon Station Command Bridge. "What do you mean the planet is in chaos too?" The commander all but squealed in frustration, demanding an explanation. We received a transmission shortly after our systems went haywire, Commander. It was broken, but within it came the report that the entire planet is suffering from the same cascading failures, albeit to a much lesser extent in highly populated areas. These failures are mainly centered around military, research, and government facilities, the first communication officer reported. Have our forces dealt with the intruders? The commander asked as uncontrollable chaos happened all around him. We don't know. We don't have communications. The network has all but collapsed, and every internal security system is non-functional, a great technician replied, furiously typing on his console without success in countering the cascading errors in the system. There was a pattern to them, but it was a difficult one to fight against. He and his fellow great technicians were close to restoring at least security measures as protocol dictated, though. They just needed more time. Suddenly, every light on the station flickered. Everyone prepared for the shudder of an explosion or some impact, but nothing happened. Instead, the lights returned to normal. Are the generators compromised? The commander cried out, demanding an answer. We don't know, Commander. It is possible that system reboot in progress, announced a great technician. Security measures are offline, but the network has been partially restored. Accessing Gah! The great technician screamed, jumping back as a very, very explicit image appeared on her console screen. By the ancients! The communications officer exclaimed, mimicking the action as a video began to play on his screen. Now what? The commander squawked angrily before the screens across his entire bridge, and truly his entire station, as well as every docked ship, displayed similar images and videos in all their unfiltered, uncensored, and bare glory. He stood up angrily, shooting at the screen before him. What is this filth? Our systems, by the ancients and all the gods! Our systems have been flooded with 7 zettabytes of highly inappropriate content, a great technician shouted. We can't shut the network down. It's going to spread across Udalon and the entire system and beyond, Commander. General issue. Emergency broadcast now. Tell every ship in the system to disconnect. I want the generators offline now. This is a cyber attack launched by hierarchy enemies, the commander ordered. But, Commander, it'll take weeks to restore. That is an order. By the supreme hierarchs, we have no other options, the commander countered angrily as a true catastrophe unfolded all around him. Commander, a message from the YHC glorious voice of the ancients striding among lakes and ruins. They are unaffected by the attack and request immediate undocking procedures to avoid contamination. Granted. Tell them to leave the system immediately. Our superiors will have our heads if it falls, the commander cried out. Disengaging locks? There. It's free and beginning undocking procedures. It's safe. Commander, Captain Keold thanks you for your efforts and commends your actions. He has informed us that they'll go silent for security purposes. The commander nodded, knowing that at the very least his position was secured by keeping that ship intact and untouched. Over 10 hours more good news came to him. No fatalities were reported and order was slowly being restored. Shutting the generators off proved to be unnecessary. As more and more control was restored, systems were purged and put back into full service. By the time they could completely restore the station's network, with the exception of a